organization, faith, and mental health. Did you know that the mess in your room might be destroying your mental health without you even realizing it? And worse, you might be making a mistake that psychologists see every day. A mistake that is worsening your anxiety, your depression, and even affecting your weight. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening and how you can change it. In the next few minutes, you'll discover a secret that only 13% of people know. A secret that transforms lives. So stay with me until the end. Because the answer you're looking for is here. Let me tell you something that science has already discovered. When your room is messy, your body releases more cortisol. Do you know what cortisol is? It's the stress hormone. And here's the problem. Even when you're sleeping, your body is in a state of alert. Think about it. You walk into your room at night, see that open closet, that pile of clothes, those scattered papers. Your body senses it as a threat. It releases cortisol, and you can't relax. Your brain stays on. You stay awake for another 2 hours, thinking about everything you need to do. And you know what hurts the most? You know this is happening. You feel it. You feel like you can't relax at home. You feel like there's always something wrong, but you don't know why. Let me be clear. This mess you're ignoring is costing you your peace of mind. It's causing insomnia. It's fueling anxiety. It's worsening depression. And you're experiencing it right now at this very moment. But here's the worst part. Most people try to solve this the wrong way. They try to organize, they tidy up the mess. But you know what they do? They keep 80% of the things they don't use. So what happens? In 3 weeks, everything is back to a mess. And do you know why? Because you never addressed the root of the problem. You just moved the trash from one place to another. And then comes that feeling of failure. You think, why can't I do something so simple? You blame yourself. You feel weak, and that feeling of failure, it worsens the depression, so you get stuck in a cycle. You try to organize, you fail. You feel worse, you get more depressed, and the mess continues. But let me tell you something important. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You simply didn't know what to do. Nobody taught you, until now. There are 5 steps that psychologists and personal organizers use together to truly transform someone's life. And it's not just about tidying up the house, it's about freeing your mind. But before I show you these 5 steps, you need to understand something that most people don't know. Something that will completely change how you approach this problem. Something that will make everything make sense. Because when you understand this, you'll realize that the 5 steps aren't the secret. They're just tools. The secret is much bigger, and that's what I'm going to reveal to you. Let me tell you some true stories. Stories of people who understood this and changed their lives. There's a woman who came seeking help because she was depressed. She was overweight, tired, and hopeless. She organized her kitchen. That's all. She organized her kitchen with the intention of taking care of herself. Do you know what happened? She lost 11 kilos in 3 months. 11 kilos. Not because she dieted, because when she organized her kitchen, she began to see herself as someone who takes care of herself. And someone who takes care of themselves doesn't binge eat. Someone who takes care of themselves makes healthy choices. Here's another case. A boy who was getting bad grades in school. His parents were desperate, so his mother organized his room. She created a clean and organized study space. Do you know what happened? His grades improved. Not because he became smarter, because he was able to focus. Because his brain was no longer in a state of alert. Here's another one. A woman who was suffering from severe anxiety. She couldn't leave the house. She organized her room. She created a space that reflected who she wanted to be, a person at peace. And you know what? The anxiety decreased. It didn't disappear, but it lessened, because her body was finally able to relax. These stories are no coincidence. There's a reason for them. And that's what I'm going to explain to you. You know, psychologists are starting to understand something important. Organization isn't just about cleanliness. It's therapy. It's natural behavioral medicine. There are psychologists working with patients who have hoarding disorder. People who can't get rid of anything. People who live buried in things. And do you know what the first thing the psychologist does is? He calls a personal organizer. Because he knows that organizing space is part of the treatment. There are psychologists working with people who are grieving, people who have lost someone and can't bring themselves to touch that person's belongings. And organizing that space, intentionally letting go of those things, is part of the healing process. There are psychologists treating anxiety, depression, and attention deficit disorder. And in all of these cases, organizing the environment is part of the solution. Why? Because your external environment reflects and influences your internal state. When you live in disorganization, you feel like you don't control your life. When you organize your space, you begin to feel empowered. And that power, it expands to everything. Let me be very clear about the cost of this. It's not just emotional, it's financial as well. Research shows that disorganized people spend 40% more on duplicate purchases. You buy the same product because you can't find what you already have. You throw away food because you don't see it's there. You are literally throwing money away. Every month, but there's more. There's the cost of time. You lose 2 hours a day looking for things. 2 hours? Do you know how much that is per year? 730 hours. 30 whole days of your life wasted annually. 30 days that you could be spending with your family, working on your dreams, taking care of yourself. And then there's the relational cost. Your family sees the mess. Your children see it and learn that it's normal to live like that. You're teaching the next generation that disorganization is acceptable. When they grow up, they'll carry that pattern into their own lives. And then there's the existential cost. The worst of all, when you live in disorganization, you feel like you don't control your own life. You feel like you're being controlled by the things around you. And that creates a feeling of powerlessness. You start to believe you can't change anything. And when you believe you can't change your home, you start to believe you can't change your career, your relationships, nothing. You get stuck. Now, I'm going to tell you the secret. And when you hear it, it will seem obvious. You'll think, why didn't anyone tell me this before? But the truth is, most people never find this out. Organization isn't about things. Let me repeat that. Organization isn't about things. When you organize your home, you're not just tidying up objects. You're creating an environment that reflects the person you want to be. And when your environment reflects who you want to be, you start acting like that person. You start thinking like that person. You become that person. Remember that woman who lost 11 kilos? It was an organization that made her lose weight. It was her identity. When she organized her kitchen, she began to see herself as someone who takes care of herself. And someone who takes care of themselves doesn't eat compulsively. Someone who takes care of themselves makes healthy choices. So she lost weight. Because she changed who she is. Remember the boy with bad grades? It wasn't the organization that improved his grades. It was his identity. When he saw his room organized, he began to see himself as a serious student, as someone dedicated to his studies. And a serious student studies. So his grades improved. That's the secret. Organization is identity. When you organize your space, you're telling your brain, I am a person who takes care of myself. I am a disciplined person. I am a person who deserves peace. I am a person who has control over my life. And your brain believes it because your environment proves it. So here are the 5 steps. And when you do this, you'll understand why it works. First step, to be genuinely bothered. You need to be bothered by the mess, not a passing annoyance, a real annoyance. An annoyance that makes you want to change. Why? Because without discomfort, you have no motivation. And motivation is everything. Without it, you'll give up in 2 weeks. So before you begin, you need to be ready. You need to be tired. Tired of feeling bad. Tired of not being in control. Tired of being trapped. Second step, remove the excess. Now you're going to let go. But it's not just about throwing things away. There's a right way to let go that liberates you emotionally. The wrong way worsens guilt and anxiety. The right way is to ask questions. For each object, you ask, does this serve me? Does this bring me joy? Does this reflect who I want to be? If the answer is no, you let go. And here's the important thing, you don't throw it away. You donate it, you sell it, you give it away. Because when you donate, you close a cycle. You transform that thing into a blessing for someone else, and that frees you emotionally. Third step, categorize. Now you group the remaining items by type, clothes together, books together, documents together, electronics together. Why? Because when you categorize, you see how much you actually have, and you create a system that's easy to maintain. Fourth step, labeling. Each category has a place, and you identify that place with a label, a sticker, whatever. Why? Because when the whole family knows where things go, it's easy to stay organized. You don't have to remember. The system works. Fifth step, maintain and create margin. Now you create a maintenance routine. Once a week, you dedicate 30 minutes to keeping everything in its place. Why? Because without maintenance, everything goes back to being a mess. But with maintenance, it's easy. And here's the most important thing. You create space. You don't fill 100% of the spaces. You leave 20% empty. Why? Because life happens. You buy new things. You receive gifts. And if there's no space, everything reverts to chaos. But let me tell you something most people don't know. The 5 steps are important, but they're not the secret. The secret is what you do after the 5 steps. Because you can follow the 5 steps perfectly. You can organize your entire house. But if you don't understand the secret, in 3 weeks everything will be a mess again. The secret is this: you need to maintain the intention. When you organize your home, you're not just tidying up. You're creating an environment that reflects who you want to be. So every time you put something in its place, you're reinforcing that identity. Every time you see that organized space, you see yourself as an organized person. But if you organize without intention, if you only tidy up because someone asked you to, or because you feel guilty, then when it gets difficult, you give up. Because there's no intention sustaining you. So here's what you do. Before you begin the 5 steps, you answer this question. You write it down. You really write it down. Who do I want to be? Do you want to be someone who takes care of themselves? Someone who is disciplined? Someone who is prosperous? Someone who is calm and peaceful? Someone who is a good example for their children? You define it. Because when you organize your home with that identity in mind, you're not just tidying up, you're becoming it. And that's where the magic happens. Now, let me talk about something that's connected to all of this: minimalism and essentialism. Many people think that minimalism means living with very few things, that you have to throw everything away, that you have to live in an empty room. But that's not it. Minimalism is about focusing on the essentials. It's about eliminating what is useless to make room for what matters. It's about quality, not quantity. Essentialism is similar. It's understanding that not everything is important, that you can't do everything, that you need to choose what really matters and focus on that. So when you organize your home with these principles in mind, you're doing more than just organizing. You're creating a lighter life, a life focused on what truly matters. Because you know what the problem is: rampant consumerism. You buy things you don't need. You accumulate, and that suffocates you. That traps you. But when you understand minimalism and essentialism, you start making different choices. You buy less, but better. You keep less, but what you keep really matters. And your life becomes lighter. And here's the spiritual thing. In the Bible, there's a parable about the sower, and Jesus talks about the worries of life, riches, and pleasures choking the word. Excess chokes. When you have too much, you can't focus on what really matters. You can't hear God. You can't grow spiritually. Because excess suffocates you. So minimalism and essentialism aren't just about organization. They're about liberation. They're about creating space for what truly matters, for God, for your family, for your purpose. And now, let me talk about something that is very important. God is a God of order. When you read Genesis, you see God bringing order to chaos, light and darkness, heaven and earth, everything in its place, everything with its purpose, and you are created in God's image. So when you create order in your life, you are aligning yourself with God's character. You are honoring the Creator through the order He Himself established. Organization is not merely functionality, it is worship. It is an act of devotion. When you organize your home, you are saying to God, I honor the order you created. I take care of what you gave me. I am a good steward. And when you align yourself with God in this way, extraordinary things begin to happen. Not because you deserved it, but because you opened yourself up to the transformation God wants to make in you. Because God wants you to live in peace, to live in freedom, to live in fullness. And when you organize your life, you create space for God to work. So here's what you're going to do. For the next 24 hours, you're going to answer this question. You're going to write it down. Who do I want to be? You're going to write the answer? It can be on your phone, on a piece of paper, anywhere. But you're going to write it down. Next, you'll choose a small space, a drawer, a cupboard, a shelf, something you can organize in an hour or two. And you're going to organize that space with the intention of becoming the person you want to be. It's not about perfectionism. It's about starting. Because when you see that organized space, you'll feel something changing inside you. You'll feel power. And it's that power that will transform your life. Start small, but start today. Not tomorrow, today. Now let me show you what's possible. Imagine yourself 3 months from now. You started small, you organized a drawer, then a closet, then a room, and now your entire home reflects who you want to be. You come home and feel peace, you sleep better, you have more energy, you can focus on work, you can be present with your family. Your children see an organized home and learn that it's possible to take care of themselves. Your partner sees the care and feels the love. You're not just organizing, you're transforming your entire life. And it all started with a drawer. This is not fantasy. This is what happens to people who understand this secret. They don't just organize their homes, they transform their lives. Because when you change your environment, you change your identity. And when you change your identity, you change everything. But let me tell you something even more important. Organization isn't the end goal, it's just the beginning. Because when you organize your home, you begin to organize your mind. When you organize your mind, you begin to organize your life. And when you organize your life, you discover your purpose. You discover why you are here. And that's where the real transformation happens. So this video isn't just about organization. It's about transformation. It's about becoming who you were created to be. Now, I need you to do something for me, something important. I want you to comment here. Tell me, what question did you answer? Who do you want to be? Write the answer in the comments. Why? Because when you write it here, you are creating a public commitment. And public commitment is what makes people truly change. Furthermore, you will inspire other people who are reading the comments. They will see that it is possible. So comment, share your answer. If this video touched your heart, if you felt you needed to hear this, share it with someone you love. It could be a friend who is struggling with depression. It could be a family member living in chaos. Because this video isn't just for you. It's for everyone who needs to know that change is possible. If you want to delve deeper into this, if you want to learn the 5 steps in detail, if you want to be part of a community of people who are transforming themselves, access the link in the description. There you will find practical resources, a free ebook, and a community of people like you who are on the same path. You are not alone on this journey. If you want more content like this, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because I'll continue bringing you content that will change your life. Content about organization, mental health, faith, spirituality, and transformation. And I want you to be here to see it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing yourself to be transformed. Thank you for believing that change is possible, because you are possible. You are capable. You are worthy of an organized, peaceful life, aligned with who you want to be. Now go do it. Start today. Not tomorrow, today. Because every day you wait is a day you're not living as the person you want to be. I believe in you.